he has not played a great deal. 22 plays in a preseason game in the last 11 months. That's all the action he's had. I'll tell you, the Minnesota defense is going to find out how rusty he is today.
That sounds like a lead into the other side of the line of scrimmage, because the Raiders do have a rusty quarterback. Rusty Hilger, up and down in his first full season at the helm, but some promising statistics last week in New England.
Certainly did. In the fourth quarter last week, he came on strong, and the Raiders are hoping that's the Rusty Hilger they'll see today. But he has been up and down. The strike really hurt him as a young quarterback. There's no question that he's been hurt also by the fact that the offensive line has not played well, and a lot of changes in that Raider offensive lineup.
50-year-old head coach Tom Flores in his 9th year. Indeed, he's made some mass changes in the offensive line. Only one starter from last year, Mosbar at center, and he hopes to use Bo Jackson, the brilliant runner from Auburn, more today.
Dick, more often than not, the word fear or respect or awe, you use those to describe a head coach. Jerry Burns is loved by his Viking players, and they really want to win for him.
This kickoff is sponsored by Budweiser, the king of beers. Chris Barr to kick it off for the Raiders in white. Neil Gugamos on the goal line in the purple of the Vikings. Late arriving crowd, but sold out 63,000. Barr spins it to Gugamos at the 2. And good coverage by the Raiders, stopping him shy of the 15. Eddie are the wide receivers, and Steve Jordan, a Pro Bowler, at tight end. The offensive line for Minnesota, Gary Zimmerman regarded as their best lineman, Huffman, Loudermilk, Tausch, and Irwin. They start from the 15. Play action, Kramer. He's going for a bundle in a hurry, and he hits Jordan. 18 yards and a first down. Stacy Turan with a tackle. The defense for the Raiders. Familiar names up front in Howie Long, Bill Packel, and Sean Jones. A change at linebacker, Lyndon King, for the injured Jerry Robinson. Matt Millen, Reggie McKenzie, and veteran Rod Martin. Lionel Washington for Lester Hayes at the left corner. Mike Haynes, All-Pro so many years on the right side. Turan and McElroy are the safeties. First down at the Minnesota 33. Nelson caught in the backfield and dropped for a big loss by 53, Rod Martin. Martin from Southern California. No one touched him.
Darren Nelson trying to get to the outside. Great penetration by Rod Martin, who looked to be coming across in a blitz. And that's Gary Huffman, the guard, trying to block on him. There's no chance, as Martin had great position and makes the stop for about a 5-yard loss. A little more than 5, actually.
So the Vikings bring in a third wide receiver, Hassan Jones, number 84. A 6-yard loss, second down 16. Kramer from the shotgun. Martin blitzing again. Kramer on top, looking for Carter, and almost intercepted by Van McElroy as they had Carter well covered. He argues that he received a shove in his progress.
Nerve injury that he's been fighting, a pinched nerve in his neck, and he hasn't taken a shot since that December 7th injury.
Kramer with Dozier and Rice in the shotgun formation, and again down the middle has a man, Lewis, and can't quite hit him. A little too tall for Leo Lewis, who stands only 5 feet 8 inches. So Kramer completes his first pass, and that's it. And now the Vikings have to give up the football as Greg Coleman, who has been a bit of a trouble spot in this Minnesota team this year. Coleman has not kicked up to his standards of the previous 10 years. 38.5 his average. And a man who was exciting last year is back to return, Chris Woods. He had a big week at New England. Saw a 22.8-yard average on his 4 punt returns. Line drive, returnable.
Dangerous
Woods.
punt.
And he gets about 10 yards out to the 44. The Raiders start in excellent field position. 39-yard punt, 10 yards on the return. Here come the Raiders on offense, and Rusty Hilger, played at Oklahoma State, brings the team on the field. Marcus Allen, Steve Smith, the rookie from Penn State. He teamed with DJ Dozier with the Nittany Lions, national champions last year. James Lofton, the ex-Packer. Mervyn Fernandez from the CFL. Todd Christensen the brilliant tight end, Holloway, Lewis, Mosbar, Maraldi, and Clay. Boy, there are some strange names in that front five for the Raiders. Hilger comes out throwing, and Lofton is wide open all the way to the 7-yard line. Carl Lee beaten by a couple of strides as Hilger and Lofton hook up on a 49-yard play.
You want to talk about separation. Look at the way Lofton simply outruns Carl Lee. Not much of a move at all, just froze him and then blurred by him. Well, Lofton has been a pain in the neck to these Vikings for years. Told me before the game, he said, this is my 20th game against the Vikings. They know him. They know how dangerous he is. But here he is burning them on the first play.
Smith and Marcus Allen lined up behind Hilger with Fernandez in motion. Marcus Allen, his first carry, and he stopped after a yard gain. Scott Studwell down low. Thomas and Millard there as well for Minnesota. Doug Martin, Henry Thomas, and the deep four. Ike Holt back in the starting lineup with Carl Lee, Joey Browner, a Pro Bowler, John Harris, an ex-Seahawk. Second down and goal. Looking for Christensen, dumps it out to Smith, and he's almost in, knocked out of bounds at the 1-yard line.
Dick, if you throw out the strike games, the Raiders have done very well inside the 20-yard line. They've been in there 12 times. They've managed 11 scores. Let's look at this particular play. Hilger scrambles out. That's a nice pass. Good touch on that pass. Smith trying to get the extra little bit, but a good job on defense to keep him out of the end zone. Let's see whether they're going to run it in. They've had trouble rushing inside the 20-yard line.
Marcus Allen, he doesn't make it.
Fumble.
May have fumbled. Let's see. The Vikings claim they've got it. Nothing official yet. Referee Gordon McCarter trying to separate in the tug of war, and the Raiders say they still have it. They do. 4th and goal from the 1. What will Tom Flores? Will he go for the sure 3?
A shot from behind as you watch Marcus. He's hit early. Good penetration into the backfield. Looked like that ball kicked away from him. Here's a better shot. We'll be able to see it here. They're not getting good penetration from that offensive line. Looked like Jesse Solomon, number 54, popping up underneath to get a shot on Marcus and break that ball loose.
4th and goal, and Flores says go for it.
Go for the 7. An interesting choice this early in the game. Motion
Smith
by Marcus.
Doesn't make it. Very big series to start the game.
2 giant plays by number 54, Jesse Solomon, coming in from that linebacking position. You see him right there with help from 97, Henry Thomas. Watch from the side as you see the Minnesota defense just driving that Raider offensive line backwards. Boy, you can't score if you can't get off the line.
Goal line stand. 2 shots from the 1, no score.
To activate him later in the year, knowing that he's at a stage in the career where he can't last too many games. They'd plan to use him the last 6 or 7 games of the season, but that may change if they don't get something going here in this game.
So Kramer and the Vikes start from inside their 2, and the Raiders going after the football as Darren Nelson met by Matt Millen and company.
Dick, you've got to wonder at the emotional turnaround. A big play for the Raiders to get down into scoring position, and they've done well in that position. Then to lose the scoring opportunity, that's a big downer. Their defense is on the field now. And I think more than anything else so far, at least in the last couple of weeks, it's the defensive team that has really let the Raiders down. A proud defensive team, and they're still basically intact. They have not played well. They're not the same team that went out on strike. They didn't come back with the same intensity.
That's the word, isn't it?
It really is. It's just not there.
2nd down and 8, play action. Kramer has to dump that one off, incomplete. Now Kramer's injury, let's go back to while he's been on the sidelines. It happened in the preseason. Took a blow to the helmet.
Took a shot right on the helmet. I think I said December 7th. That's not true. That was the neck to full strength, but he is throwing the ball much more consistently today.
3rd and long from inside his 5, and it's Nelson. Close to a first down on 3rd and 8. Darren Nelson, Reggie McKenzie, and Matt Millen with a tackle. It'll be close enough to measure or not. Nelson from Stanford, a first-round pick in '82.
Close may not be enough, though. Some good blocking in front of him as he breaks to the outside. Look at the quickness, though. He knows where that first down yardage is, doing everything he can to stretch for it. Now they'll see what they can do when they stretch the chains. Oh, oh. Well, they caught the Raiders thinking pass. Good tactical call. That's Bob Snelker, the offensive coordinator, sending those plays in for Jerry Burns and the Vikes. Interesting relationship between those two. There's Snelker with the white shirt on. He sends the plays in also by messenger. When Burns was the offensive coordinator here for so many years, he would signal the plays in, but I said, well, why do you messenger them now? He said, Bob Snelker wants it that way. He really gives his coordinators room to do their own thing.
DJ Dozier was the messenger as he replaces Nelson. First down from the 12. This is Alan Rice, 3, maybe 4 yards out across the 15-yard line. Rice from Baylor University, where he was a college teammate of Alfred Anderson. Anderson, a starter, is on the inactive list with him. You see, he was picked 7th, and Gerald Riggs by Atlanta 9th. Marcus by the Raiders was the 10th pick in the first round. Nelson would like to prove that he's a better man, at least today. Kramer going long for Jordan. He had Turan beat and could not come up with the ball. And that's twice now Kramer has been long on his throws, and that's just part of being inactive.
It doesn't matter how much you practice. You can't duplicate game conditions. And for the quarterback, he's got to get that touch, that last piece of it here in the game. Jordan putting a good move on Turan, blows by him, but watch him stretch. There's just no way that he can get that final few inches to get to that football. And Tommy will settle down as this game goes, but he's going to have some problems.
Vikings with some big statistical numbers. The receivers, Carter
Boy,
and
those are
Jones.
long numbers.
Third down, 5 defensive backs for the Raiders. Little screen doesn't work a bit.
Turan.
As Stacy Turan comes up from his safety spot to dump Nelson for a loss.
They've been trying to pick on Turan today. In fact, they got him for that first big pass to Jordan early in the game across the middle. But Turan is a tough safety. He loves to come up on the passing game, the short passing game, and also the running game. You saw how physical he is on that particular play.
Coleman to kick from, oh, he'll deliver around his 3 or 4 yard line with Chris Woods back at the Raider 43.
Ooh, bad snap.
Oh, another bad kick by Coleman. He's having his troubles, but that's going to take a kind roll for him to the Raider 46-yard line.
Jerry Burns very quick to point out it was Coleman's poor kicks last week that hurt them as bad as anything against the Seattle Seahawks in that loss.
Jerry Burns yesterday, he was prophetic.
He certainly was, and of course Lofton has already burned them, and we've had a couple of poor punts already from Coleman. Pass rush has been significant already. I'll tell you, he's not getting his stops so far.
He did get the 2 stops in the goal line of the running
game. He certainly did. Get that one.
Ooh, Marcus Allen.
Joey Brown.
Make a wish, Joey Brown.
And you see, Dick, at the end of that play, you see Browner with those powerful hands just kind of swinging Allen around like a mosquito on that play. Oof.
They were saying, the coaches, that he has hands of Alan Page, that when he gets a hold of you, you're gone.
You'll see him right at the end of this play, Joey Browner. Watch the way he just gets a hold of that jersey and just snaps him back. Powerful arms and hands. Allen said, look, come on. It's okay. I'm on the ground. Let me go.
2nd and 4. Christensen has his first catch, and the Raiders a first down at the Viking 40. Solomon the tackler.
I asked Todd Christensen, I said, do you have to make any mechanical adjustments on the artificial turf or any mental adjustments? And he was putting his gear on. He looked down at his leg. He said, here's one of the adjustments. He showed me a big open sore on the side of his leg. That's one of the things that happens to you on this turf. Elbows and legs just get scraped to pieces.
Well, you saw those numbers on Christensen, the first man in NFL history to catch 80 or more passes 4 straight seasons. Marcus,
there it is.
Running room to the 25-yard line. Marcus Allen, 15 dazzling yards before Studwell and Harris could catch him.
And that's one of the things that has been missing from this Raider offense since they've returned from the strike. is the big plays out of the running game. Here you see Marcus getting the most of it. He has such a fluid motion. It's hard to believe that he's so quick to the outside. Doesn't appear to be running hard, but seems to have a great ability to find the opening and take advantage of it.
He's just about 200 yards away from becoming the all-time Raider rusher, passing Mark Van Egen's record 5,900 yards. Fernandez in motion. Play action Hilger. Christensen with another catch. Just the end of the ball. In fact, the Vikings thought it might have hit the ground. As we take a look at the 10-minute ticker, our first check of scores elsewhere. Battle of first place teams. Indianapolis with a field goal early. Bears at Green Bay with a touchdown. No score at Buffalo. Kansas City at home finally has a touchdown lead against the Steelers. Here no score, but the Raiders stopped twice at the 1-yard line, are marching again. 2nd and 2.5. Allen feeling his way for a couple. Joey Browner and Scott Studwell with a tackle. '81 Heisman winner Marcus Allen at Southern California, and of course Vince Edwards, Ben Casey of TV fame. Back when Bo was born, Mama was a Ben Casey fan, named her son after Vince Edwards, the actor. Hilger on 3rd and 1.5. Christensen again. He always seems to be open. 1st and goal from the 4.
Rusty has learned to lean heavily on Todd Christensen. And I've said it before, I don't think there's a tight end in football that has a better sense of where the openings are in a defense. You saw a little bump there from Rusty or to Trey Junkin, his fellow tight end. But watch the extra yardage that Christensen picks up on this particular play. Got an extra four yards or so. Number 47, Browner, is the guy who's usually covering him. He's up on the line, appears to be wanting to blitz on that play. Was not able to do so.
Oh, it's 1st and goal at the 4. Shoulder or arm injury. 1st and goal at the 5, and Tom Flores with 3 tight ends, Christensen, Junkin, and Parker. And then gives to Allen, leaping over the pile, a couple. It'll be 2nd and goal from the 3.
Floyd Peters waiting until the last second, kept an extra defensive back on the field, and then sent an extra linebacker onto the field, waiting until the play was called, hoping to catch the Raiders with the run play and then put an extra linebacker in. It worked well for them. Still long yardage here in this kind of situation. You remember they kept them out the last time they were down here.
Hilger is 5 for 5 passing, and he's going to throw here. Christensen,
no way.
Was he held? No flag. Close. There
a
was
lot
little
of physical contact on both sides as Christensen is pushing off. Studwell is pushing back. You watch the two of them. There's a real pushing match going on there. Hilger just trying to loft it over the top. Watch Christensen. Look at him. He pushes off. Then he gets a shove from Studwell on that side. He pushes off again. Well, I think you might have seen a flag if that ball had been catchable. The ball was not catchable.
3rd and goal from the 4. Doki Williams wide to the right. Lofton split left. Only Marcus Allen in the backfield, and Smith flanked to the right. Looking for Allen. Hilger, ton of time, incomplete. It was Joey Browner who leaped into Hilger's face and might have deflected the pass.
Doki Williams was in the corner. He was trying to force himself, trying to get some room over in the corner. Looked like Doki's doing a dance. Watch it, Doki, right here. 85 down in the deep end of the corner. And they got the ball out there, but Ross Browner's quick reaction, looks like a tennis player at the net, Dick. Just got that hand up there and deflected it. Joey Browner. I'm calling him by his brother's name. I don't want to do that.
A lot of Browners.
A lot of Browner brothers, yeah.
Keith Browner was with the Raiders as a replacement player. Barr will try the field goal this time. A little chip shot, bad snap. And he gets it through. Good job by Mark Wilson spotting the ball. And the Raiders have the early lead 3-0 with 3 minutes and 39 seconds remaining in the first quarter. So twice inside the 5, LA gets 3 points. Went for the touchdown on their first trip to the 1-yard line and failed to get the field goal. You talked about the strong hands of Browner, and they likened him to Alan Page.
Yeah.
You were known for that. Those big mitts of yours. You made many tackles. You can't train for that.
Dick, I think the interesting thing, you talk about arm strength, shoulder strength, leg strength. Very often for the defensive player, it's the hands that are most important in tackling, getting a hold of a man, also in the pass rush.
Don't touch me unless you love me. Here's a kickoff by Barr. Gugamos at the 1. Neil Gugamos tripped up before he can get to the 20. Eddie Anderson, again, number 33, along with Trey Junkin. The fans thought there was a little too much activity by the Raiders. James Davis was in on the play as well. It's been a very quiet sellout crowd here at the Metrodome, and although the World Series is 2 weeks away, the talk around town is that it was so emerging for the football cheers. And Minnesota really hasn't given them much to yell about anyway so far. Nelson twisting to the 19. Rod Martin, another tackle.
Martin up quickly to force that play as he did earlier on a similar toss. Lyndon King, number 52, actually polished the tackle off, and King is playing then there in place of Jerry Robinson, who bruised his knee badly last week. We will see him in spot performance only today. King, a linebacker that the Raiders picked up after he'd been turned loose by the Chargers a few years ago.
DJ Dozier, number 42, now in the backfield. He has 5 rushing touchdowns to lead Minnesota. Little swing to Dozier. And he can't get back to the line of scrimmage as the Raider defense has been brilliant here in this first quarter with 2:40 left in the period. Indianapolis still 3-0. No other 3rd and long. Nelson back in. 3 wide receivers: Hassan Jones, Anthony Carter, and Leo Lewis. Kramer again goes long and tripped up. No flag. Hassan Jones going down as Mike Haynes was the man covering for the Raiders. Incidental contact. For the first time, perhaps in his brilliant career, Haynes reading criticism of his work.
He is. He was burned, although he did not have a bad game last week against New England. He was burned on a play late in the game that was very costly. He said he guessed on where that ball was going to be, and of course you can't guess very often and get away with it.
Stanley Morgan with a 40-yard gain that set up the winning field goal. Coleman's kick to Woods, who waited at the last minute to find it and goes down. Reggie Rutland, and a flag is down. So Coleman gets off his best punt, and it appears that Eddie Anderson also guilty of a block in the back.
Well, either a block in the back or holding, one or the other. Either way, it's going to march the Raiders back. They would have had excellent position as Coleman continues to kick the ball very poorly. Low line drive kicks that are still.
Steve Smith 35, Marcus Allen 32. We've not seen Bo Jackson in this first quarter. Just under 2 minutes remaining in the period. Raiders lead 3-0. Marcus Allen to the 25. 3-0 Raiders here in the Twin Cities. Now, all right, back here at the Metrodome. The Raiders 2nd and 5. Christensen split to the left, the tight end. Joey Browner out there, man for man, apparently.
Oh,
oops. Movement, and Martin, Doug Martin, the left end, jumping into the backfield and pointing that accusing finger at one of the offensive linemen.
Saying one of the offensive men moved. Dick, while we have a second, we might have a chance to talk about the changes in that offensive line where Keith Millard, the man who moved, and they said today to see how well they are doing against this Viking defensive line.
Yeah, during the week, Bruce Davis, the veteran tackle, traded to Houston. Henry Lawrence, another veteran tackle, was released by the Raiders. Hilger, good protection, going deep, and too long for Lofton. John Harris over on the coverage.
Even though that play was not a completed pass, let's go back and look at the protection that Rusty Hilger got on that play. He was given plenty of time to throw the football, was able to stand back and look at his receivers, Here it is from the far side as you get a chance to look at the Minnesota Vikings getting off quickly on the ball. Chris Dolman being pushed around to the outside, a little bit of help from Steve Smith, but no one other than Dolman close to Hilger when he unloaded that football.
Well, John Clay, their #1 draft pick from Missouri, is at right tackle. Brian Holloway, the former Patriot, at left tackle. Here's Marcus Allen, and the Vikings see him dive for a first down on 3rd and inches. Keith Millard from Washington State in on the tackle. Marcus Allen continues his streak of catching a pass in every game he's played an offensive down, 61 consecutive games. Such a fine all-purpose performer. Boy, does he have a partner in tennis. Merlin, I'm warning you right now, if we ever want to team up, his doubles partner is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah, you don't get anything over his head. You know, Marcus is in an interesting position because of the acquisition of Bo Jackson. And I asked him about it. I said, how do you feel about this? It's, you know, does it bother you? He said, well, I kind of like it in a way. It means that I'm going to have a little less work to do and should help my longevity. And he said, I like the fact that it may help us to win. So on the outside, at least, he's handling it very well.
Bo Jackson, number 34, is in the lineup for the first time in the final seconds of this first quarter. He had 37 yards in his debut against New England last week.
Rusty had to tell him where to head out to. He said, you line up over there, Bo.
Jackson out wide right, and then they give to Allen running in that direction. And Marcus with a good gain of about 8 yards out to the 40-yard line.
Well, if you're an all-around football player, you don't just carry the football, you also block. Let's see how number 34, Bo Jackson, does on Joey Browner. Well, he got a piece of him, kept him off, pushed him off. Not a bad job at all.
8 yards on the final play of the opening quarter here at the Metrodome, where it's been all Los Angeles Raiders, although the score doesn't necessarily reflect that. The Raiders managing only a field. 23 for Minnesota. The Vikings are first down on the first play of the game, and that's been it for them. Raiders nearly 9 minutes possession to 6 minutes for the Vikings. 3-0 Los Angeles. They start 2nd down and 2. Screen it to Marcus.
Oof.
Tripped up as he picks up the first down at the 43-yard line. Studwell, another tackle. The all-time Vikings tackler, Scott Studwell, as he's passed Matt Blair for that honor.
He's been around a lot of years, the middle of that line. And I'll tell you, the other thing that makes him such a valuable player, he's a real student of the game. He makes those subtle adjustments of the defense that can't be made from the sideline. Floyd Peters sits down with him during the week and says, here's what we want to do in this situation, here's what we want to do on that situation. He'll do that on the field for you.
Bo Jackson in there along with Steve Smith. It is Smith off tackle, and no one there for 10 yards untouched as he rambles for a first down to the Minnesota 43. Carl Lee finally made the tackle along with Joey Browner.
That rebuild offensive line looking in from behind as you watch the play start to your right. Good block in there by Bill Lewis. It looked like on the outside Brian Holloway got a good block there as well. And I think in a situation like that, they're looking for Marcus. And watch the block by Bo Jackson right there, knocking him to the outside. Good job.
So Smith, who had carried only once, no gain, picks up 14 on that play. And here comes Bo Jackson, his first carry today. And he stopped for 2 or 3 yard effort. Studwell and Ashley in on the tackle. Check the 10-minute ticker. Green Bay has tied the Bears. That's good news for Minnesota fans. And the Skins have come back to tie at Philadelphia. Cleveland early lead in the second, and Tampa Bay at St. Louis with a touchdown. Marcus Allen in, Bo Jackson out on 2nd and 8. Hilger again protected well, intercepted by the Vikings. Joey Browner, what a player he is. Ripped it right away from James Lofton.
A year ago, that probably would have been called as interference, as Browner and
A lot of men could not have held on to that ball. That was a tough interception. So Minnesota stops the Raiders at the 26. Kramer
Whoa.
runs it. Lewis incomplete. He did not get possession and that foot down.
Ball bouncing back out of there. Lionel Washington, number 48, and Tommy Kramer leveled as he threw that ball out of there. Watch the hit as the ball arrives to Leo Lewis, and watch that ball just shoot out of there. Looked like it came back out of a cannon. That's the kind that often is picked out of the air and run one direction or the other. They've been, excuse me, Dick, they've been picking on Lionel Washington a little bit on the left side. He has not been that consistent over there.
3 for 9 is Tommy Kramer on his return. Almost intercepted by Turan as he moved in front of the intended target, Steve Jordan. So 3 for 10 now for Kramer on his return as the starting quarterback.
And Kramer is really not sharp. Now, Jerry Burns said, I won't hesitate if I don't feel it.
Only 2 first downs, that run by Darren Nelson and the pass by Kramer early to Jordan. Kramer goes down at the 18-yard line. Lyndon King, number 52, was through, as was 93 Greg Townsend and 71 Bill Pickell. The first sack of the game, 26th of the year for the Raiders, who led the NFL in sacks last season.
And this has been something that the Raiders have not done well so far since they returned from the strike. Howie Long, number 75, 71 Pickell, neither one really getting pressure in there. Howie, an all-pro, stopped by a single blocker on that play.
So Woods and the Raiders should get good field position again as Coleman spirals it out to the 35. 40. Whoa, Woods could see nothing but purple and is down at the 38-yard line. A 47-yard punt, 3 yards on the return, and a timeout. 12:20 remaining in the first half. The Raiders, who have dominated the play but lead by only 3, will start from the 37-yard line.
Of course, they had that quick opportunity right at the beginning of the game. Big pass to Lofton, got him in a scoring position. They had 4 shots down inside the 6-yard line, ended up with 2 shots at the 1.5-yard line, not able to score. And of course, at this point, could well be leading by as much as 14 points. They've had 2 good scoring opportunities.
Hilger sends Lofton to the left and Fernandez right. Marcus Allen and Steve Smith in the backfield. Fake to Allen. Intercepted by the Vikings. 97 Henry Thomas on the deflection. Chris Dolman, 56, made the play, and it was batted right to the rookie Thomas.
Ball bounced off the hands of number 75, Keith Millard, but it's Chris Dolman, a linebacker for a long time, right at the top of your screen. He'll come all the way around the top, around Brian Holloway. There, you see him knocking the ball off the hands of Hilger. And here's another shot. Now you'll see Hilger hit from behind. The ball will bounce off of number 75 and go right into the hands. Oop. No, actually dropped just right in the hands of Henry Thomas, 97, the rookie, who has to say, hey, this is Christmas.
We'll see whether they rule that an interception or a fumble. And again, on first down, the Vikings unable to move the ball. Allen Rice, seemingly no gain.
Now, the interesting question was whether it was actually a pass. Of course, it's immaterial when the ball was caught in the air that way. It doesn't matter.
Well, it counts only to
Let's
Hilger's
look
statistics.
at it. Yeah, well, of course it does. It makes a big difference.
The Vikings' first play.
Maybe that was one of Brian Holloway's friends who said, let's jinx the machine on that one.
Vikings' first opportunity in Raider territory, 2nd and 10. DJ Dozier. Those long legs, picks up 5. Dozier, as a young boy, was born bow-legged and pigeon-toed. They had heavy leg braces and special shoes for him. Many feel, though, his family feels that that has really helped him. You can see he still has that bowed right leg, has helped him as an athlete.
When I think of bow legs, I think of Billy Brown, who used to patrol the fields here in Minnesota. Those bow legs of his gave him great power as a running back. I think those bow-legged fullbacks and running backs are the strongest.
3rd and 5 from the 28.
Blitz again.
Open, Anthony Carter, touchdown.
Well, Tommy hasn't lost a touch. The heat was on. They were coming with the blitz. And I got to tell you that if these Raiders can't control on that man-to-man coverage, and they will admit it, then they've got real problems with their defense. It's been the hallmark of the great Raider defenses. Right now, they're having trouble man-to-man on the corners.
Lionel Washington acquired in a trade with the Cardinals, replacing Lester Hayes at that left corner, and Carter beat him for the score, 28 yards. So they turn about with the Raiders dominating play, but Dolman getting to the.
Let's take a peek at it here. Clearly, look how quickly he accelerated and got outside. Now he's hit. Did he get down to the ground? Yes, he did.
Yes.
Very definitely. 2-yard line. So the officials who were looking at a replay of it stopped the play. Now there's contact here. Contact initiated by the defense. The hand is all right, but when the knee hits, the ball is down. There it is right there on the 2-yard line. So the officials alertly asking for the replay to be invoked, and I think very shortly you'll see that.
DJ Dozier and rookie Rick Fenny, a 240-pound fullback, behind Kramer. It's Dozier.
Ooh.
Boy,
Ooh.
is he hit.
Number 55, Matt Millen, at the bottom of that stack, along with 71, Bill Pickell, and 53, Rod Martin. The defense for the Raiders really coming off the ball on that play. You watch a big back like Finney go in there. He doesn't get anything. Watch him. He just is stopped right there. And then a second smack. That's number 48, Lionel Washington, up there, too, the cornerback. I'm sure feeling the pressure and the guilt of that completion. He wanted to help stop that play, too. Flag down.
And so is the running back Darren Nelson. Shy of the goal line. Rod Martin straightening him with a solid tackle.
And they're coming after. Boy, you don't want to give him a yard.
Fenny and Dozier, the running backs. And the sneak ahead, and Kramer did not get in. You see number 76, Tim Irwin, the tackle and goal.
Well, the Vikes stopped the Raiders down there. Can the Raiders stop the Vikes?
Touchdown. Kramer sneaks it in. Millen was right there again and obviously does not agree.
Mike Haynes, number 22, just blowing his cool down there, saying no way that there's a touchdown. We've seen Wade Wilson do this earlier in the year for the Vikings. Kramer just climbing up over the top. That's Lionel Washington, 48, and it's Millen coming out of there with the ball. But I'm sure what had happened is the score had already taken place. And once you break the plane of the goal line with the ball, doesn't matter what happens to that football. It's a score.
So after Carter's apparent touchdown was ruled no touchdown in the replay, Kramer finally sneaks it in.
Just barely. He didn't have much room.
Chuck Nelson, former pick of the Los Angeles Rams, kicks the extra point, and it's 7-3 Minnesota as they take advantage of the interception by Henry Thomas, the defensive lineman. And we're going to take another look at that. He barely got the nose of the ball on that line, if he did at all. And the Raiders had an argument. We'll see from our line judge position just how close that was.
You got to have courage when you got a neck injury to dive over that line with the ball. Give him some credit.
Doki Williams and Vance Mueller deep for the Raiders as Nelson hits it to Mueller. And he's to the 26-yard line. Raiders take over there. Let's go back to the touchdown. Defensive end Sean Jones. We dug our own grave. Now we have to crawl out before someone comes along and throws dirt on us. Jones was the player representative of the Raiders during the 3 weeks of strike play. Bo Jackson running through tacklers to the 30-yard line. Joey Browner meets him after a 4-yard gain along with Henry Thomas.
Well, just in response to that quote, the Vikings got a shovel in their hands right now.
Green Bay, a couple of touchdowns to answer the Bears to take the lead. And Buffalo, Jim Kelly, a touchdown pass in the second against Denver. No changes there. And because if someone Atlanta was that had 14, didn't quite see that score. Bo Jackson and Steve Smith behind Hilger. Hilger throwing long, no one there except the Vikings. Carl Lee. James Lofton had cut to the sidelines, and Hilger thought he was going to go upfield.
Minnesota Vikings, a team that employs a four-man line. They do it in an interesting concept. They keep three of the linemen in place, the two ends and the nose tackle, usually lined up as you would line up a three-man line, and then they move one tackle, Keith Millard, number 75, left to right. So he'll work to the weak side in an under kind of situation, what we call an under defense, because the linemen are stacked to the weak side of the offensive formation. You see the two of them side by side there.
5 defensive backs against 3 wide receivers on 3rd and 6. Little pressure on Hilger, and he is sacked for the first time.
Chris Dolman, number 56. He's the man who forced the fumble just moments ago that set up to pick up the sack.
Number 1 pick by the Vikings out of Pittsburgh a couple of years ago as a linebacker, has beefed up and now playing defensive end. Kick away by Talley, and Lewis lets it bounce, and it will kick out of bounds at the 41-yard line. 7 minutes 19 seconds left in the half. And he just sets it on the table, and watch Kirby Puckett as he goes back. It looks like he might even have a play on it. He can't even find it.
Where did that ball go?
466 feet for Jackson, the longest home run of the year at the Metrodome. There he is. He'd like to hit a home run for the Raiders today.
Bo has tried to be very quiet, and I don't blame him. He really had wanted to do something on the field and then let his actions speak for him. The press very excited. We're kind of excited by the power and the capability and the speed, a marvelous package of ability, but has yet to really show us the kind of ability that we know he had as a Heisman Trophy winner.
Well, he's a turf hitter, and that's where he's playing today.
He's on the turf today.
Inside handoff to Dozier, and the former star at Penn State is to the Raider 45, and a first down. Van McElroy and Stacy Turan, the Raider safeties, with a tackle.
Let's look in from the end zone. The Raiders getting pushed back on this particular play. Good blocking inside by Loudermilk, the center. Jones, Sean Jones, 99, trying to come over and get a piece of him, but that's Zimmerman with an excellent block too, number 65. He'll stick his head in there.
They like him, Zimmerman. They acquired him for a couple of number 2 picks from the Giants. First down pass. Kramer scrambles. He's looking for a place to dive. Yes, sir.
I don't blame him. I don't blame him. That's the most dangerous time when you're out in the open field and you got those bodies coming from everywhere. And Tommy knows that if he gets that neck popped over again, that shoulder may start and that arm may go numb on him again.
As another thing about this run, we don't see it here as he slides down and Rod Martin downs him, but he was looking behind him. He wanted to make sure that someone wasn't coming up to knock that ball away. The veteran quarterback playing all the angles.
Well, keep your head on a swivel. I remember Fran Tarkenton seemed to have eyes in the back of his head. Tommy didn't get those, but he's looking around.
2nd and 2 on the 8-yard scramble by Kramer. The toss to Dozier. The Raiders read that
play. Good play outside.
Lyndon King was there.
Also Lionel Washington, both coming up very quickly on the outside to push that play back into the pursuit. Now, I asked Tommy Kramer, I said, how many times have you played against these Vikings? He said, thought for a minute, he said, they're not as nasty as they used to be.
Oh,
and you know what's interesting?
Like to hear that.
Yeah, what's interesting, he said they don't get those 15-yard penalties. They used to get 2 or 3 a game just to show you that they were going to knock your head off.
3rd and 3. And shy of the first down. It's going to be very close, goes Darren Nelson. A reminder to our viewers, we'll be selecting the Budweiser Most Valuable Player today's game. Of course, we'll announce that near the conclusion.
Down on the right side of that line, 66, Terry Tausch, doing a good job of blocking inside on Bill Pickell. Tausch down with a knee injury last week against Seattle, and he said the doctors told him during the week it was good news and bad news. The bad news was that the knee was injured. The good news was there's nothing in there left to worry about because he's had so many operations on that knee.
That's the sad part of the game that you don't always hear. Mike Haynes, a finger in the eye, and he's out. Sammy Seal has replaced him at the corner as the Vikings go for it. And Kramer calls time. Now Kramer brought him out of the huddle and either was running out of time or didn't like the defense that he saw. So 4th and inches is.
Don't have Dozier and Finney in there, do they? Got Dozier in there and Rice in there.
Well, here's the answer.
Oh, that'll answer it totally.
Now we'll probably see a punt.
Tim Irwin offsides on the far side. No, it's Dennis Swilly. Dennis Swilly in as an extra tight end. Swilly, ordinarily a center, has moved over as an extra tight end on the right-hand side, and he was just off early. You see him moving right there. Yeah, a lot of people moving.
Seconds remaining in the half. Coleman comes on 4th and 5 to punt. Coleman has a good arm. He's thrown from punt formation.
Not here. Well, now he gets a good kick. I mean, this is the one you don't want to fly.
Oh, that's when you're not trying to kick it hard, you get the good drive. And so that punt is 21 yards net as the Raiders take over at their 20 on the touchback.
Great, you know, they just have so many tools. They've got to be able to get to those tools.
He gets out of the rush and makes 4 yards out of it before Jesse Solomon can make the tackle. He wears number 12. He said his idols wore that number, Roger Staubach and Kenny Stabler.
I'll tell you one thing he is not doing yet, though. He never seems to set up the same way 2 times in a row. He's very nervous in that pocket, and of course that's part of the confidence that has to come for him. But until he can do that and start repeating very comfortably in there, he's not going to be the quarterback he wants to be.
Just under 3 minutes left in the half. Marcus flagged down, and Marcus squirting out to the 29-yard line, but one would guess holding. Yes, there's the call from Gordon McCarter.
I believe it's on the right side of the line, either Clay in there or Bill Lewis, or Miraldi, not Lewis, but Miraldi on that right-hand side, because it was the back side. And that's a silly call because they're holding someone who's not going to get there for the play anyway. It is Clay. Yes, yeah. Number 1 draft choice, a 300-pounder, and moves surprisingly well. But there's the arm right around the waist of Doug Martin. Actually, Marcus trying to come off tackle, goes all the way back the other way and picked up some yardage, but the penalty takes him way back. See what kind of pressure they can put on this one.
Bring in a couple extra defensive backs. 2:32 and the clock running. Draw to Marcus Allen. Runs into his own man and then outside and steps out of bounds at the 19. Solomon, the closest Viking.
Let's go in and look at the action on that particular play. A play like this, you'd like to make people think pass. It's a quick draw and then let them get upfield. They did a good job of that, but Marcus hung up. Had he been able to make that quick move through the line of scrimmage, might have had good yardage on the play. As it was, when he breaks to the sideline, there was not much left.
Well, Allen and Jackson with 49 yards. Nelson and Dozier with 29 in that battle.
I think part of that is control of the football, though. The Raiders certainly have had more opportunities than Minnesota so far.
3rd and a long 10.
No.
And Hilger trying to find Christensen, who was surrounded by purple. 5 Vikings were within 8 yards of Christensen. So there's a chance for the Vikings with the incomplete pass and Allen going out of bounds. 2 minutes and 21 seconds. They got the 2-minute timeout plus 2 of their own. So they'll have adequate time to try to muster a possible drive, leading 7-3. Stan Talley from TCU, 6'5" punter that has replaced Ray Guy with the Raiders. Leo Lewis is back at the 38.
Good power as a punter, but he has been inconsistent. Hasn't been able to kick it as well in games as in practice. Boy, he gets that one, and not even turning it over, still gets long yardage.
Lewis gambling, gets out of Doki Williams' grasp and makes something out of it to the 44. Boy, that carries a certain amount of risk with it. 43 yards on the punt, 6 yards on the daring return before Eddie Anderson. 9 left in the half. Vikings at their 44. Kramer with a quick hitter and can't find Anthony Carter, and he was running right into Van McElroy anyway.
Dick, I look in on that offensive line. I see Kirk Loudermilk with one hand on the football and snapping it back, and it's a pass play. You watch him here, and I'm remembering that one playoff game, we're getting ready to play Minnesota, and we had a tip-off on Mick Tinglehoff that he was going to one hand when he was passing and two hands when he was running, and kind of thing he'd gotten into a bad habit. And we checked all the film. We had good numbers on it. We get here to play Minnesota, get to the line of scrimmage. A rookie linebacker standing behind me says, "One hand, it's a pass." I got up out of my stance. I wanted to kill him.
And of course,
it was gone.
An old pro.
He put the other hand right on the ball.
Kramer throws that one into a crowd and almost deflected into Millen's hands. That had been a touchdown.
Hard to tell what happened. We got to take a look at Howie Long. Howie has not really been a factor since returning from the strike. He's not getting off on the ball. A lot of people there in front of him as Howie is still on the line of scrimmage. And Kramer said, "Here, Howie, take that." Whap.
Timeout, the 2-minute warning. He's outside. Back in your day, we'd been in that great erector set.
Boy, I tell you, I came over here today. That cold wind was blowing, and some memories flashed back through my mind. I don't think I've ever been colder than I was playing here a few days in Minnesota when that wind was blowing. The snow was on the ground. We came in here and played after Christmas one year. The field was absolutely frozen. In fact, we had players fall on the field and cut themselves on chunks of ice that were actually frozen on the field.
The Vikings didn't exactly warm your hearts either. They
usually beat us on those days, and that left a very cold feeling in my heart.
But Grant, he'd stand in there almost as a golf shirt in -degree temperatures.
Mental training, that's what they had.
3rd and 10 for Minnesota.
Look out.
Kramer ducking out. He's got a little running room. Can he get the first down?
Oh.
Fumbles the ball, and it goes out of bounds. But they will say it's where the ball left Kramer's hand.
And it's not enough for a first down,
That's
Dick.
right.
It's going to be short. And that's the fumble rule put in so that you can't take advantage of turning that ball loose, because had the old rule been employed here, it would have been a first down.
Well, it ties back into the old holy roller play by the Raiders against San Diego.
Think about it for a second. Tommy Kramer knows he doesn't want to get hit, but he wants the first down, and his competitive instincts take over as he tries to get up and get that first down. Stacy Turan trying to go over the top of Carter. Well, if I were Carter, I'd go right down at those legs too. Well,
Carter, a wide receiver, a couple of good blocks.
Takedown, you bet. And that's his job. That's his job, to go down and block. I think Turan was mad because he was down on those legs.
Coleman with Chris Woods back at the 10. That's a good looking kick. Woods is going to let it go into the end zone. So again, Coleman unable to hit the sidelines. And it's only a 27-yard net on the punt.
When you look down at that rate through the first 5 or 6 games of the season, by that time they'd have Rusty Hilger through the worst part of his adjustments. They'd have this offensive line through the worst part of his adjustments. But then you had the strike, and all of that planning went right out the window.
And they won their first game with the replacements and then lost to Denver and San Diego. Hilger gunning the ball to Christensen to the 38-yard line. Todd Christensen busy again today. 18 more yards for the tight end of the Raiders, who has now caught 4 passes.
Rusty Hilger looking into that defense as he jumps back quickly with no huddle. A second play to be called on the line.
Lots of time. And a good kick. No, he did not hang on. James Lofton at the 44.
Ball bouncing off the ground. Lofton catching it between his legs after it had gone through his hands. Carl Lee, we mentioned that they've been picking on him here a little bit today. Watch that ball as it looked like Lee got his hand on that ball, kind of deflected it down. The ball bounces off the ground, and Lofton catches it between his legs. But the official right there said, nope, that one touched the turf.
2nd and 10. 2 timeouts left for the Raiders and Vikings. Ball at the 38-yard line and 59 seconds left in the half. Hilger again. To the sidelines. Lofton.
No.
Was he in bounds? No.
Good catch, but had the foot out of bounds. That's not the kind of thing you usually see an experienced receiver like Lofton do. They usually know where that sideline is.
3 seconds left in the half. A big 3rd and 10 for the Raiders. Lofton, Fernandez, and Doki Williams, 3 wide receivers, all to the right. Christensen to the left. And Stabler goes down at the 31. Doug Martin's first sack of the half. Hilger going down, and Stabler had the same taste himself back in his days with the Raiders.
Stafford Mays along with Doug Martin there to complete that sack. They were able to.
3rd punt. Leo Lewis back at the 27. 48 seconds left. The Vikings using their 2nd timeout.
They're coming.
End over end. Lewis.
Ooh.
And Doki Williams gets him at this time right at the 30-yard line. 41 seconds left for the Vikings to try to muster something before the end of the half. Really thought with both teams' offensive philosophy, Merlin Olsen, that this would be a high-scoring game. Both clubs like to go
possession kind of passes to get him into the swing of this game. He is getting more comfortable all the time as you watch him.
1 timeout left for the Vikings. Flag down. Kramer. Incomplete to Rice. Kramer very close to going beyond the line of scrimmage.
There's an offsides by the Raiders on that last play. And jump, unable to get back.
Me like a duck. I'm a decoy. They all block me. I hope the linebacker is freed up to make the tackle.
Well, he's got Gary Zimmerman over there on this play.
Kramer just does get the ball away, but not to Dozier, as the pressure came from Greg Townsend.
Howie showing us a good quick get off. He'll go right inside Gary Zimmerman. Watch David Huffman, 72, have to turn back outside and just pop on Howie. Didn't want to use those hands, knew he was in trouble, but of course that pressure broke up the pass play. So Howie did get the pressure there that you need to force that quarterback to do the kinds of things he does not want to do.
Well, he has a Ben Johnson start. Howie Long, he may be as quick out of the blocks as any defensive lineman.
He certainly is, Dick, but he hasn't been a force, as we mentioned, since he got back from the strike, and he came back early.
Inside handoff to Darren Nelson, who has the first down, but of course stays in the field of play, and the clock is running. And now the Vikings use their final timeout with 24 seconds showing. 9 yards on the play for Darren Nelson. We're close to. Allen Rice with a little check-off pass from Kramer, but couldn't get out of bounds, and the clock is running. 9 seconds. Kramer just trying to get up there and at least throw the pass into the ground, so he has a final shot. 3 seconds, 2 seconds, and now it's too late. That's the end of the first half. Now the Minnesota Vikings and the Los Angeles Raiders struggle through a half offensively, and the key to the whole first 30 minutes was that possession of the Raiders, the opening possession. They were stopped twice from the Minnesota 1-yard line.
Missed an excellent scoring opportunity and a chance to be ahead in this ball game. I'm sure that's one they're going to worry about and think about throughout this game. And declined the opportunity for the easy 3 points and ended up with 0.
We get ready for the second half, and the kickoff is sponsored by Budweiser, the king of beers. Chuck Nelson to kick it off for the Minnesota Vikings, and the Raiders with Doki Williams and Vance Mueller deep. 7-3 as the crowd settles back in. 63,000 at the Metrodome. Not a lot to cheer about, but they really didn't come with their voices today. I mean, there are a lot of folks still hoarse from the series. And we're underway in the second half. Each team 3 and 4. Doki Williams from the 5. And Williams picking his way to the 26-yard line. Let's look at the halftime statistics. Merlin, there were only 250 plus yards total offense combined, the two teams.
Not the kind of stats that will endear you to an offensive coordinator. Rushing downs, first downs. Well, basically the stats are quite even. Passing, not much there to brag about. The Vikings 5 for 15, as we mentioned. Kramer a little rusty on that side, overthrowing on several occasions, underthrowing, turnovers, and that's the big stat. The Raiders have turned it over twice. We've got a Viking down, Neil Gugamon.
Coach Tom Flores. First down plays, the Raiders nearly 9 yards and the Vikings just 2.5. Vance Mueller opens at halfback and drives out to about the 29-yard line. Henry Thomas, the man who intercepted the pass, makes the tackle, and Wade Wilson, number 11, is warming up. Will he play the second half at quarterback?
What a nice play from the inside by Henry Thomas on that last one, Dick. Good question. We'll have to watch who the quarterback is. Thomas driving out of the grasp of the well, that's Clay getting the good block on the offside to hold somebody down, but it was really a wonderful play by the nose tackle Henry Thomas, who just flowed right down the line, just kind of danced down the line away from the block of Mosbar to make the play.
Hilger to this side to Fernandez, short hops him. It'll be 3rd down and 7. Wyman Henderson, 24 on the coverage.
That one's yours, Rusty. You got to get that ball out there so Fernandez can catch it. Raiders like the deep out. They've always run their patterns relatively deep. Rusty with time to throw just under through that one, and they're not any good when you catch them on the hop.
Trey Junkin is in at tight end, number 87. I don't know what the story is on Todd Christensen. We'll try to find out if he's hurt. Mueller and Marcus Allen behind Hilger on 3rd and 7. Hilger over the middle, intercepted. It's Carl Lee. Out of bounds. Hilger got him out at the 1-yard line. Lee.
Well, there are no rocks to kick on the far sideline, but Hilger brings this crowd to life as he lands one right in the hands of Carl Lee. I think he was going for Marcus Allen over the center. Let's look for 39 Lee and 32 Allen. The ball thrown right here. Yep, that's Marcus, but it's not Marcus with the football as Lee just turns it on up the sideline. Rusty did a good job of knocking him out to keep him from the score.
That's a very aggressive tackle by Hilger as Wade Wilson comes in at quarterback. In the 4 games played by the regulars, Wilson led them to a 3-1 record, and he takes over 1st and goal at the 1. Dozier.
Ooh.
Touchdown or not? No signal yet.
They may have to unpile that one. Dozier would stop, but then twisted his body, and I think before he hit the ground, very close to that goal line.
Goal line, the nose of the football on 2nd and goal. Fenney and Nelson, and it's Wilson sneaking in for the touchdown. So 2 pass interceptions in the Raider half of the field have led to 2 sneaks by the quarterback, and it's now 13-3 Minnesota.
Wade Wilson, very adept at getting up over the top on these kinds of plays, has done it a number of times during the year, and we're not looking directly down the line. Turan in a little pushing match with Dennis Swilly. I don't think he's your size of guy. You don't want to pick on somebody, get one of those little guys.
Nelson's try for point. Greg Coleman, the punter, to hold. And the Vikings build their lead to 14-3. Wade Wilson sneaking in for the score after Carl Lee's 36-yard run with an interception set up the touchdown at the 1.
The North Stars are going to get on a good roll, and the people get involved in the other sports around the community in the area. And the Vikings are a great organization, and the Gophers, and they're all, doing their best to try to follow our lead and go from there, and hopefully it'll get going for them.
You touched a lot of people with that Cinderella story.
We sure did. We'll never know how many people we did. I have phone calls and letters from all over the country just thanking us for doing such a great job as an underdog and coming through, and very rewarding and something I'll never forget.
Thanks for dropping by.
Thank you, Dick.
Tom Kelly of the Minnesota Twins here cheering as a fan the Vikings, who lead 14-3. Steve Smith with or Doki Williams with a kickoff return and stopped shy of the 20-yard line. And we understand that Todd Christensen, as we see, Tom Flores changing at quarterback as well. So both head coaches have gone to new signal callers in the second half. Wade Wilson for Tommy Kramer, Minnesota, and now Mark Wilson replaces Rusty Hilger for the Raiders.
That's a bitter pill for Rusty. Back to the scouting board and charting the plays.
Wilson and Wilson, the two quarterbacks. Mark Wilson lofts one complete at the 31-yard line to Mervin Fernandez, his first catch of the game.
2 weeks ago, Wilson came in to replace Hilger and very quickly took his team on a long drive for a touchdown. Came back and repeated that shortly against Seattle, but then had some of the same problems that he's had in the past of throwing the bad pass. But I'm sure that right now there's a feeling of confidence. I actually believe that the Raiders have more confidence in Wilson as a quarterback than they do in Rusty Hilger.
Certainly didn't seem that way the last couple of years. Wilson under pressure, intercepted. John Harris at the 39 of Minnesota. His 46th career interception. And Doug Martin was the man pressuring Wilson.
Well, and that's the kind of pass that got Mark in trouble earlier in his Raider career. He'll throw a bunch of the great passes, and then all of a sudden he'll throw that one that gets you in trouble. And you'll see a few folks turn their backs on the quarterback as he heads to the sideline there. Clearly overthrown, well over Marcus Allen's head. John Harris, number 44, just like a center fielder waiting for the ball out there.
The Vikings had only 7 interceptions in the first 7 games. They have 4 today. Darren Nelson out to the 47-yard line. Lyndon King tripped him up. 2nd down and 3. Mark Wilson from BYU, where he was sandwiched between Gifford Nielsen and Jim McMahon in that litany of outstanding quarterbacks up there in Utah.
Well, he had the magic then, but he has kind of lost some of it, and part of it I'm sure in the confidence area, because it's so hard to be shuffled in and out. When you change a quarterback and jerk him out of there and put the responsibility on his shoulders and the blame on his shoulders, it's tough to step back into the lineup.
Dozier, right into the thick of the Raider defense, will be apparently shy of a first down.
I tell you the other thing that's interesting, Dick, though, and Burnsy talked about it, Jerry Burns talked about it. He said if you want to change the chemistry of a team, you don't change a tight end, you don't change a guard, you got to change on offense, you got to change that quarterback. And we've seen the chemistry change very quickly here. That's Mark Haynes singling up on Leo Lewis there, and of course we saw him get a jabbed in the eye early in the game. He's got to be a little concerned about seeing those receivers downfield.
Well, he's kind of a field. Mike Haynes is a field defender anyway. He just shadows his man so very well. 3rd and 1. Looks like a pass. Rice, no one there to throw to, so he'll run for the first down. How do you do?
Looked like a throwback pass way to the other side. They were going to throw it back to Jordan, who was coming way back. Yeah. Well, that's one of the things you do to a team that plays man-to-man defense. It's almost like a reverse in a way. You get everybody going one way and try and hit them going back the other way. When Rice, unable to have time to get that ball off, did the next best thing, picked up the first down.
Well, he couldn't. If he'd have thrown it to Wilson, then it would have been a forward pass. Wilson was not behind him, so it couldn't have been
I think he was thrown to Jordan.
Back over on the other
side. Thrown all the way over. Transcontinental would call that one.
45-yard line of the Raiders. Wade Wilson.
Look out.
Under attack from Lyndon King. A big sack for King. Raiders was 63 of those last year. That's their 2nd today.
Was that Leo Lewis trying to block Lyndon King? What a mismatch that is. He's coming in motion. He's trying to block the linebacker. Lyndon, you see him coming right out of there. That's the kind you love to get if you're a linebacker. About a 30-pound advantage. There's King. He just rejected Leo and went in and swarmed the quarterback. Like squatting the fly. Whack.
2nd down and 23 for Minnesota.
These are the downs that this Raider defense has had trouble with over the last few weeks. The long 3rd down, 2nd, 3rd down plays.
Wilson out of the shotgun, who just does elude Howie Long and now throws long. Oh my, it's deflected into the hands of Hassan Jones.
Mike Haynes went for the interception. He and McElroy both in position to make the play. Haynes tried to take that football, went right through his hands, and what a great play. We'll get a chance to see it just in a few moments. But all the time in the world to make the choice. Hassan Jones saying, hey, wow. Alan, these Raiders just got to feel right now like they're snake bit.
A pinball touchdown to Hassan Jones. It rattled around the two defenders and right back in his arms. 58 yards for the score, his second touchdown of the year. We already showed you earlier he has big average per catch, and that's his first today for 58.
Well, so first you have Howie Long, your best lineman, missing the easy sack, and then you have Mike Haynes, a professional for so many years, missing the interception, and it ends up a touchdown the other way.
Nelson's try for point, and a collision in the center.
Thought he had the interception and ends up giving up the touchdown.
All three touchdowns following pass interceptions. Nelson booms it through. It's 21-3. Let's go back to the touchdown.
And by IBM.
And Mike Haynes talking to himself on the sidelines after not intercepting the pass from Wilson to Jones, and on the deflection, Jones off his own chest able to wrap it up. Two touchdowns early in this third quarter for Minnesota to take a 7-3 lead at halftime to 21-3. Plenty of time, 10-15 left in the third, but the Raiders have to get going. Doki Williams lets it bounce at the 5 and takes it to the 23-yard line. We understand Vance Mueller won't play the rest of the day. Shoulder separation for Mueller. And Todd Christensen, they're x-raying the arch of his foot. That's why he hasn't been in there.
Has had foot problems. In fact, talking to him in the locker room before the game, he was mentioning that foot had been bothering him a little bit. And I'll tell you what's tough on this turf, you catch those feet. The grip is so good that very often if you have a foot injury or toe injury, it's magnified on this artificial turf.
Mark Wilson, both coaches going to the bullpen here in the second half. Marcus Allen ridden down from behind by Chris Martin, 57. Well, we are seeing Bo Jackson just easing his way into that Raider offense, and Tom Flores not hurrying the former Heisman star at Auburn.
I mentioned earlier that I thought this Raider team had more confidence in Wilson. Maybe I should say had more confidence. He comes right out and throws the interception. He needs to reestablish that confidence here, but obviously they're very unhappy with Hilger, or you would not see Wilson in the ballgame at this moment.
2nd and 3 underneath, complete to Trey Junkin, his first catch. He's in there for Todd Christensen, 5-year veteran from Louisiana Tech. Let's go back to the touchdown play. Howie Long ever so close to getting the ball. Bo Jackson in the game. He's out as a wingback, and Wilson is hit and down by Doug Martin, number 79. Martin's second sack today. He had 10.5 back in '82, 12 in '83, and then slumped. Only had 1, then 4, but 9 last year. They've got some first-round picks, some prime talent in that defensive line, the Vikings. I understand Henry Thomas, who had the interception, the defensive tackle, also poked in the eye. He's being worked on. Draw play. Here comes Bo Jackson. And there again, Joey Browner. Now here's a man 230 pounds that runs a 4.2 60, and Browner able with those strong hands we talked about, able to rip him down.
Jackson's showing some fine acceleration here as he just takes this little lead play and bursts upfield. Talked to Chris Woods, teammate of his at Auburn, and I said, do you see any change in him? He said, I see him the way he was when he came to Auburn, with something to prove. They were all talking Herschel Walker. He had that feeling then. He seems to feel that Jackson is on a mission now.
Wilson going long for Lofton. And Lee intercepts and then drops the ball. They're going to, no, incomplete the call. Lee not able to hang on long enough. No possession ruled. Pass was a little short as Lofton had Lee beaten for a moment.
Well, you got to have confidence in a receiver to throw to him when he's that well covered. But by golly, you better throw it over the head and let him go up for it. Lofton, a great leaper, but that ball underthrown, and James Lofton did a great job of reaching back in to keep that from being an interception.
That brings up 4th down and 6. And Stan Talley to punt to Leo Lewis. Talley, who kicked in the USFL for 3 years, averaged 43 a punt. Good
There's
height
a good
on
kick.
that one.
There's
and
a good
fair
kick.
catch. Lewis, will he let it bounce? No, takes it at the 8-yard line. 50 yards on the Tally ho. Timeout.
I will let you go.
It'll
to
be
wide.
great. It'll be great. Director today here in Minnesota is Andy Rosenberg. And great to have all our NFL, NBC technicians with us. Their strike settled. Fumble. Allen Rice fumbles. A free ball. And the Raiders have
ball.
recovered at the 23-yard line. Stacy Turan. That might be the play that wakes up the men from Los Angeles.
A good hole on the play, and there was yardage already made by Rice as he got through cleanly. Here's a chance to look at as he goes inside. They've got Bill Pickell outside. Terry Tausch, a good block there. Huffman getting a little block there, but that ball just bouncing free. It looked like
Matt Millen was the man who
Spike.
forced the fumble.
Yeah, boy, he's put his head and his shoulders in there and popped it loose.
Well, this has been the best opportunity for the Raiders since the first quarter. It's Bo Jackson on the sweep. Oh, what a tackle by 58.
Walker Lee Ashley in there to just up in Bo Jackson. Hit him low, and Jackson really took a tumble.
Ashley in there apparently for Scott Studwell at the middle linebacker position.
Watch number 58 go right in at the legs, jumps over the block right there, dives inside, and just hit Jackson, just turned him over like an apple cart on that one. Good pursuit by Solomon, Jesse Solomon, number 54 from the other side, who would have made the tackle if Ashley had missed.
Midpoint of the third quarter. Wilson on 2nd and 10. Gets out of the grasp of Millard and now looks for an open man. Junkin, no. And a flag goes down, and we may have roughing the passer.
I think they hit him on the head. You're not allowed to touch the head of that quarterback. You got to believe
Ben Christensen going for that pass.
Well, you got to believe the communications between Junkin and Wilson not good. Between Wilson and Christensen, very good. Here's the play. Wilson getting away from Millard, number 75, doing a good job of avoiding the rush here, and then he's cool, takes his time, can't find the receiver, and finally just lofts it. Junkin, who has excellent speed, not anticipating as Wilson or as Christensen probably would in that situation. And I got to believe, I got to agree with you that if Wilson had been able to throw to Christensen, they may have the TD there.
Major penalty that takes it down to the 12-yard line. And timeout is called by Minnesota. That stops the clock with 7 minutes and 5 seconds left in the third quarter. The Raiders trying to cut into the lead.
Is called. Doesn't matter at this point.
First down at the 12. 21-3. Minnesota leads. Give to Marcus Allen. Tripped at the 10. Chris Martin, who played at Auburn, was there at the same time as Bo Jackson, linebacker, submarining to make the play.
Martin had been a starter. David Howard had taken that position. And Martin back in there because of an ankle injury to Howard, doing a good job on that last play.
Gain of about 3.5. Okay, we get a definition of that last penalty, that it was that Martin attacked with the helmet. It wasn't the one-step rule. Yeah, the crowd trying to help out the defense. Steve Smith, the fullback, nothing there.
Jesse Solomon there along with Walker Lee Ashley. Good defensive play. Inside, watch the exchange between Wilson and Mosbar. Wilson, a 6'6" quarterback. Mosbar, a 6'6" center. Very big. Boy, look at all the heat there. 4 Vikings all over Smith. You got to get upfield, son. You can't make that yardage going sideways.
3rd and 7 at the 10. Touchdown, James Lofton. His first as a Raider.
The first by those wide receivers. The Raiders, a real dearth of touchdowns from the wide receivers during this season, at least the regular wide receivers. And Wilson, the critical thing there, time. He has time to throw this football, time to wait for the receiver to come open. It looked like there was going to be big heat on him. And this is something that Mark has not done well over the years, sifting through that pocket, finding space, and then, of course, finding the open receiver who also had some space.
Chris Barr nails the extra point, and the fumble recovery deep in the Minnesota end allows the Raiders to carve into that big Minnesota lead. It's now 21-10, and James Lofton, the former All-America at Stanford and 7 times a Pro Bowler with the Packers, embraces his first touchdown as a Los Angeles Raider.
Talking to Lofton about his many appearances here in the Viking country. He said, are Bobby Boyd and Paul Krause going to play today? He does remember the history, doesn't he?
That goes back to your era.
Oh, it surely does.
Well, next week, 12:30 Eastern time for NFL Live, and here are the second game today.
Short kick.
Gugamos at the 10. And he's out across the 30-yard line. Reggie McKenzie made the tackle. Now the Raider defense giving the offense position at the 22 on the fumble recovery, and now they'll dig in against Wade Wilson.
They need some big defense.
Charles Wade Wilson, 6th round draft pick out of East Texas State back in 1980. And he is smothered as Sean Jones and Greg Townsend in like shots.
Townsend will get the credit for the sack, but let's go inside and look at what was happening to Piquel and to Howie Long. Watch the 2 of them. They literally have 4 people blocking on 2, 5 on 2 actually, and of course no one there to block Townsend. Very often it's hard to pick out who is responsible for the sack. In that situation, Piquel and Long took all the blockers out of the action, and Townsend able to make the sack.
Piquel, by the way, last year led all of the NFL tackles in sacks when he logged 11 and a half, the defensive tackles in the league. Wilson, Long gets him a fumble and a touchdown. No, they're going to say down.
In the grass.
Wilson was down or in the grasp, and James Davis thought he had 6.
A break for Minnesota, and what appeared to be a certain touchdown as that ball was in the air. Jerry Burns on the sideline breathing a huge sigh of relief. Finally, this Raider defense seemed to be waking up in this game. You see them bursting in. That's Howie Long again. Howie turns loose. Boy, that's quick grasp and control, if that's what the call is. It did not appear to me that there was much in the way of control. They certainly had some grasp on him.
Well, it's whether or not, and I think the instant replay officials are looking at it as they call time. Watch where Wilson's knees are. Are the knees down when the ball is released? That's the key here. Oh, that's tough. You can't see the right knee. And from that angle, was the knee down when the ball went flying?
Well, let's look again. And I think maybe it was a question of knee down rather than grasp and control, because it certainly didn't appear to be any kind of grasp and control. Wilson, I'm sure, hoping that this is decided in their favor. We should get a better look from this angle. Now watch the knee. Is it on the ground? Let's see here. Got the heel. The ball is in the air. Boy, I tell you, I think it's a touchdown.
3rd down.
Yeah, well, all right. I'm entitled to my opinion. I still think it's a touchdown.
Yep, irrefutable evidence apparently not there.
But I don't think. I think their decision was made before they saw that last angle, unfortunately.
So instead of a 10-yard touchdown for James Davis that would have made it 21-17 with the extra point, it's 3rd down and 29 Minnesota. And Howie Long offside. Here comes Darren Nelson.
Free play for the offense. Now you wonder why Howie is offside. Actually, he's reacting to someone jumping at the other side. He's trained to go on movement down the line. Sees some movement down the line. He's off. Slow speeds on that. I can see why they would refuse to reverse that one.
Another draw play that doesn't fool the Raiders. Howie Long in on top of Allen Rice, and Minnesota with a 21-10 lead. Almost not that kind of lead. Will have to kick it away.
I still think it was a touchdown.
San Diego has rallied to tie at Indianapolis in the 4th. Green Bay with an 8-point lead against the Bears, and Buffalo 2 touchdowns ahead of Denver. That's a surprising score.
Coleman has had a tough day. This is a place where you need a good kick.
Chris Woods back at the 45. He's not expecting a long kick. He's moved up 5 yards. They've got the return on.
Not a good kick. Oh, yeah, it is. Take it back.
Woods to the 35 and down at the 39. Ray Berry, number 50, a rookie, makes the tackle. 50 yards on the punt, 4 yards on the return. We showed you some of the scores. Let's update the others. Redskins and Eagles in a battle in the 3rd, and Pittsburgh now has taken the lead at Kansas City in the 4th.
Hard to judge those punts because they're so low that when you see them come off his foot, you don't think they're going to get any distance. He's a line drive kicker, kicks for the sideline. Woods able to flag that one down, but good coverage by the Vikings special teams to pin the Raiders back at the 40-yard line, 39-yard line.
Bo Jackson and Steve Smith behind Mark Wilson. Bo
got room.
Oh, he almost kicked free, just tripped up, and there was only one more purple shirt in his way. Ashley got down low after a 9-yard gain.
I think Bo Jackson will get better every week. Watch the acceleration, the kind of speed he has. He'll plant that foot right here and break up to the inside. Good use of the body and the hands, and that's the kind of balance that will come back to him as he continues to play this game.
2nd and 1, almost a free down for Wilson, but he'll go right back to Jackson. The same play.
Look out.
And he just is bumped out of bounds at the Minnesota 38-yard line.
Dick Steinberg up in New England, personnel coordinator up there, said that's the fastest man he's ever timed in a football uniform right there.
4.18. 4.18.
Wait a minute. The clocks don't count at that speed.
93 yards combined, Allen and Jackson. 41 for the tandem of Nelson and Dozier, Minnesota. Jackson hit in the backfield, breaks a tackle on his feet, one man to beat, and he's wrestled down at the 19-yard line. Oh, there's a sample, there's a taste of what's ahead for the NFL defenses from that man.
I said the more he plays, the better he's going to get, because those moves and the reactions, the balance, they're all going to come back to him. You see it right there. Good use of the body, such strong legs, powerful legs, big thighs. Watch how well he keeps his balance. A chance to go down there. Henry Thomas had a piece of him. That was Browner there with a piece of him. Henderson there with a piece of him, and he kept going.
Steve Smith, the fullback, tackled forward to the 15-yard line, a gain of 3. The thing about Jackson, too, that catches your eye immediately, he's got the size and the will to block. Even though he didn't do a lot of that in college, he's too valuable with the ball, but he's the kind of man that will help out his teammate with a good key block. You see Junkin, 87, still in the huddle for the Raiders. That's not good news because Todd Christensen has not returned. 1:08 left in the 3rd quarter. Jackson. Not this time. Jesse Solomon and Scott Studwell.
Floyd Peters on the sideline saying, hey, come on, how many times do you think you can run that play before we're going outside to wait for you? They had him up on the outside waiting. Solomon did a good job of forcing that play back inside.
Well, earlier the Knots would have been spelled without the K because they weren't getting to Jackson. There's Peters.
There's Peters. Fine defensive tackle in his career, calling the signals. Looks like Mr. Clean, doesn't he?
Yeah. He was tough as a player. 3rd and 9. Marcus Allen is in the lineup. Wilson's looking for him.
Did he go across the line?
Oh, Mervyn Fernandez wide open in the end zone, and the pass just out of his reach.
Great move by Wilson, very close to the line of scrimmage. Pulled the defenders up as he starts to go toward the line of scrimmage. Now watch this little tight right turn there, and zips that ball. Maybe a little too much zip on it, but Fernandez, a dependable receiver, should have had it. It's high, but it's not that high. Boy, that's heartbreak.
Chris Barr for an apparent field goal. Wilson is the holder. It's 35 yards. 12 seconds left in the 3rd quarter. It's good. Chris Barr, who is 9 for 14 on the year, gets 3 points back for the Raiders, and it's 21-13.
Hindsight's so very easy, Dick, as we look back to that 4th down and 1 yard to go right at the very first of this game. Had they taken the field goal, had the Raiders taken the field goal there, they would be within a touchdown right now of going into the lead.
It was Bo Jackson certainly that inspired that drive by the Raiders, who again came ever so close. Man wide open in the end zone, couldn't come up with a touchdown. Well, coming up to Gugamos at the 5. He's got a chance. He stepped out of bounds, I believe, yes, at the 47-yard line. Ron Fellows, 21, finally made the tackle, but Barr got enough of him to bump him out of bounds.
Gugamos has had a big day on special teams. Watch the play develop. Barr hooking it to his left, our right. Gugamos taking it on the dead run and does what every good returner should do. Right straight up the field, gets good yardage, and there was the step out of bounds.
21-13 at the end of the quarter. Will be fine, but rallied and tied with 2 touchdowns and a field goal. Rusty Hilger inspired, only to lose the game on a Tony Franklin second chance field goal. 26-23. Start of the 4th quarter, and Darren Nelson to the 49 of the Raiders. Reggie McKenzie and Van McElroy made the tackle.
Well, you wouldn't think a minister's son would be a rough and rugged football player, but that's exactly what this one is. Van McElroy, I'll tell you, he puts his head in there. He's not afraid to hit you. Not a big man. Usually when you see him, he's got a bunch of scabs on his face because he puts his nose right in there to make the tackles.
His dad Ted has been a minister, a Baptist minister, for over 50 years down in Canipa, Texas. Population 300. Little Statue of Liberty to Darren Nelson. He's got a blocker, but a flag down as Nelson goes to the 31-yard line. Flag on the far side of the field.
Might be an illegal contact, illegal hit.
Personal foul against the Raiders, so they'll tack that on the end of the play.
Well, that's a big play for Minnesota's offense. And Dick, Bob Snelker told me that when you run a play of that kind, well, we couldn't hear that either. Snelker was talking about the fact that he likes to reverse or run reverse type plays against a man-to-man defense because they run themselves out of the play by looking off and running with those receivers, and that's just a little statue play coming back against the grain.
Well done by Wilson. You know, good lame arm fake.
Steve Jordan does a good job of blocking on that play right there. Number 83. Watch him lead this play downfield. And 50
for McKenzie.
Yeah, 54 McKenzie. Looked like 51 from this angle. Ooh.
Oh my! Allen Rice ran into the stone wall with a 55 on it. Matt Millen. Millen has made a lot of big hits in this game. He's had a solid defensive game.
There are your statistics for 3 quarters, and they have not changed a great deal. A little more yardage in this, far more yardage in this quarter than in the first 2, but nothing of incredible significance there, except that the Vikes were able to put a couple of big touchdowns on the board.
One was a 1-yard drive after the interception.
Yep.
Raiders have the yards, but the Vikings have the points. 21-13. Dozier stepping outside, then back inside to the 10-yard line. McElroy, another tackle for the Raiders. And you got a little taste of the talent of D.J. Dozier.
Another opportunity to watch Van McElroy as he'll come up working from that secondary. The Raiders lean heavily on the tackling ability of those safeties, Stacy Turan and McElroy. McElroy consistently around the football, and it takes, I'll tell you, it takes takes some real talent to be able to cover those speedy receivers and still come up and take on the big backs.
3rd and 3 from inside the 10. Leo Lewis in motion. Dozier hitting the backfield, tries to spin away, but can't get out of the grasp of Bill Pickel, number 71.
Matt Millen, the man who was in quickly to break up that play, and Pickel, the cleanup man.
So the field goal unit on for Minnesota. Pickel, who played his college ball at Rutgers, born in Queens and went to high school in Brooklyn. 27 or 28-yard try by Nelson, who is 3 for 4 on the season, his longest 29 yards. He kicked 127, but also 129. This one will be 27, and it is good. Well, after the field goal by Barr, the kickoff, and then Nelson answers with 3 for Minnesota.
And by Castrol, the motor oil engineered for today's smaller cars.
Dick Enberg with Merlin Olsen back at the Metrodome, where the Vikings have built their lead back to 11 points at 24-13 on a 27-yard field goal by Nelson. Vance Mueller had a separated shoulder, was the report in the first half. He's back in the game, number 42, along with Dokie Williams.
I knew he was tough, but
it doesn't sound right, does it? Well, guess it wasn't as serious as first reported.
Low and driving. Ooh.
Mueller wisely will take the touchback.
Good
the
choice.
Impetus by the kicking team. They'll get the ball at the 20.
Even though he touched the ball, he did not provide any impetus for it. The kick provided the impetus. That means it's a touchback. It'll come out to the 20. You watch him as he definitely touches the football here. Now, if he were to get control of that football and then lose control and scoop it back into the end zone, it's an entirely different situation.
Now, those guys that go to Occidental are smart.
They are smart, I'll tell you that.
Out at the 20-yard line, the Raiders trailing 24-13 with 11 and a half minutes remaining in the fourth quarter.
And it's Marcus rather than Bo. This is a passing set.
Jackson is out to the left side. They're going to throw to Jackson. Incomplete. Browner on the coverage. They try to get the ball quickly to Jackson. Just you talk about your long handoff.
Bo out in the position of a wide receiver here, and you're right, they're trying to get that long handoff out there. Boy, and I'm sure he's feeling number 47, Joey Browner. Hey, you can hear those footsteps coming.
Oh, 2 Heisman Award winners, Marcus Allen and Bo Jackson, lined up behind Wilson. Screen it to Marcus. Good blocking, good running, and apparently close to a first down out at the 30-yard line. Jesse Solomon finally got him. Other scores now all in the fourth quarter. Tied at Indianapolis. Green Bay still by 8. Boy, that'd be a big upset for the Packers, who are playing well. Buffalo looking for an upset of their own at home. Washington by 4 at Philadelphia, and Kansas City has a 2-point lead against the Steelers. Cleveland big against Atlanta at home, and Tampa Bay, they're still in the running. Bo Jackson out to the 35-yard line, a gain of 5 on first down. Solomon and Ashley with a tackle.
We have to wonder if Bo really does have all of this offense intact, or if they aren't a little bit limited in what they can give him in terms of plays to be called from the sideline. Tom Flores, of course, calling the plays for the Raiders, calling them into Mark Wilson, sending him by signal.
65 yards now for Jackson rushing. Jackson as the receiver.
Ooh,
Fumbles. Minnesota has it. 54 is Ashley on his way and brought down at the 11-yard line. Jesse Solomon. Jesse Solomon took a nice little bounce. That was a Gary Gaetti bounce for him, and he scooped it up and almost took it in for 6.
Oh, it hurts. It hurts. And it has been a while. You got to remember that this is a guy who had a layoff of 2 years. He's just coming back to doing the things that should be natural for him. One of the things that you don't want to have to think about is hanging onto the football. Bo didn't think about it just for a second. The fumble, the recovery, and now the Vikes have the ball on the 11-yard line.
Credit Carl Lee with a tackle that stripped the ball, and Jesse Solomon returning it to the 11. Wade Wilson to throw. Touchdown, Steve Jordan. Talk about opportunistic. The Vikings, 4 interceptions. They scored, and now a fumble recovery, and they scored. Who played at Brown, second Ivy Leaguer with the Vikings. Ed Marinero out of Cornell starred here, of course. Nelson adds the extra point. 10 minutes, 4 seconds remaining, and it's the Vikings 31-13. Bo Jackson fumbled, 11-yard pass. Wade Wilson to his tight end Steve Jordan. Jordan, who caught 6 last year, his first of this season, and now Nelson to kick it off. Doki Williams and Chris Woods are deep this time, off to the side, and that one's going to go out of bounds, and the Raiders will take it at the 35-yard line. Let's go back to the touchdown. Jordan, a graduate of Brown, is a civil engineer. Well, here's the blueprint of a touchdown. The architect Wilson. There's the man. Whoop, not Tom Flores. He's not going to catch it.
There it is. Nice play. Very quickly on the sideline.
Purple print, I guess.
Purple print, yeah, in that case. There's Wade Wilson getting congratulations. You know, when they were going to sit him down this last week, he said, I'm an emotional guy. I want to reassess things before I shoot my mouth off. I think he's glad he did, because here he is back in the game, back in control. If he'd have said some rough things about Kramer or about his coaches, he certainly would have regretted them.
Well, he showed plenty of arm strength. He drilled that ball through the defense. From the 35, Mark Wilson now. A lot of catching up to do with exactly 10 minutes left. To Marcus Allen, spinning back inside, and there to make the tackle is Ashley.
Fine play again by Chris Dolman, number 56, and Dolman was disappointed when they took him from that linebacking position, put him down a 3-point stance. He really wanted to stay at the linebacking position. Here he is, 6'5", 245, 250 pounds. Great quickness. You got to remind him that Randy White spent 2 years at linebacker in Dallas. They finally put him down, and look at how many times he's been an All-Pro.
A loss of 5 on that first down play. Wilson fires it to Doki Williams, and he has a first down at the Raider 47. Williams coming back to meet the ball. Certainly a play that has been part of the Al Davis inspired Raiders through the years. Biletnikoff, I guess, did it as well as anyone who ever played the game.
And Doki Williams, Dick, asked Al Davis to trade him before the trading deadline. Wanted to go home to San Diego, he said, but I asked him earlier today, I said, is that behind you? He said, hey, that's behind me. I want to play football. I want to see us win now. Well, they got a lot of work to do if that's going to be the case.
Flag down. Wilson, plenty of time.
Ooh.
And the catch made by Williams. Ooh. And he pays for it as John Harris, the tackler.
Boy, I tell you, as a wide receiver, this is the pass you don't want. Look how vulnerable he is as he goes up for that football. John Harris pretty nice to him as he just drops him to the turf. A lot of people hurt on that kind of play.
Penalty is against the Raiders, so all that for naught.
Number 80, offense. Penalty accepted, 5 yards. Repeat
Lofton
first down.
was in motion. And instead of a 16-yard gain, it's a -5 that brings up first down 15 at the Raider 42. 8.5 minutes remaining in the fourth quarter. Minnesota with a lead 31-13. Winning team 4-4. The losing team drops to 3-5. Bo Jackson. Boy, is he drawing a crowd out to the 46 or 7. Dolman there first with plenty of help. Reggie Rutland in on the tackle as well. Well, getting down to the final gun in some of these games. Let's check the scores. Chargers and Colts 13-all. 2 first-place teams. Green Bay's lead cut to 1. Buffalo still by 2 touchdowns. Washington leading Philadelphia. We'll get the rest for you. Wilson downfield to Lofton.
Oh.
Still on his feet, and Browner finally gets him at the 28-yard line.
A couple of defenders knocking each other off there, and Wilson will come right down the field. No huddle. With 7:45, he realizes they've got to put a lot of points on the board, and they're going to try and get one here very quickly.
Marcus and Bo are in the backfield behind Wilson. Wilson to the sidelines. Lofton too high. Rutland on the coverage. Let's go back to the scores. We didn't give all.
Sometimes questionable catching ability.
He split to the left out of your picture with Williams wide right. Great defensive play by Reggie Rutland to knock it away from Hester. Boy, you called it, Merlin. It was a tough catch,
Well,
but he had it.
tough. I don't blame Hester for not being able to handle that one, because he's got hands going right through him. He gets up, he does everything he can, but Rutland just drives those hands through and into the ball, and then right there just jerks those arms apart, almost a reverse scissoring motion.
Fans wanted that to be a fumble, but he never had possession, as you can clearly see. It's now 3rd and 10. Mike Hartenstein, the veteran from the Chicago Bears, acquired by Minnesota, is in the game. 78. Wilson scrambles away. Now throws for 6. Doki Williams wide open for the touchdown.
Strange play. It looked like Mark was losing his balance as he threw that pass. He tends to rainbow that ball anyway, but Doki had found room in the corner of the end zone, had enough time. Mike Hartenstein putting pressure on Mark Wilson, but watch Wilson get to the outside. A couple of Vikes knock each other down. Watch Wilson here as he kind of stumbles a little bit, throws off balance, but Doki Williams had put a good move on Wayman Henderson and faked him out with all kinds of room to catch that ball in the corner of the end zone.
Doki Williams making his presence known. 2 catches for 45 yards. Barr adds the extra point. It's 31-20. And lots of time. 7 minutes, 14 seconds left. 31-20, 11-point lead Minnesota. The 2 Wilsons, both quarterbacks coming in the second half. And both really have shown their coaches that they deserve the chance to play. They've produced.
They really have. You know, it's interesting to me, Dick, that this Raider team is certainly just not playing the kind of football that we thought they would play, and yet they're making a lot of big plays. I think the difference for them right at the moment is they're not executing. They're a team that depends on beating you man-to-man and with their execution. And even though they're making big plays, they're not getting enough of those quality matchups where they're really defeating people man-to-man.
Neil Gugamos. They're going for the ball, and he's down at the 20-yard line. The Raiders have just gone 65 yards in 7 plays. Took them only 2 minutes and 46 seconds before Mark Wilson hit Doki Williams for the touchdown. And here is that score. Williams, who has been a big play man, it's his 3rd touchdown on only 8 catches this year, and he gives Henderson the feeling that he's going to come back here, because that's what he did before in his other catch. Henderson looks at him. As soon as he looks, he breaks back, and Wilson read it perfectly, and Williams has the score. Wade Wilson, the quarterback for Minnesota, with 7:06 left in the game. Darren Nelson for a yard. National Football League rules require that we present away games starting with the opening kickoff to stations in the team's home area. So you viewers in Miami will be leaving this game in a few minutes for a telecast involving your Dolphins team. However, we'll continue to bring you reports on this game to keep you in touch.
Dick, just an amplification of what I said a moment ago. The Raiders are not a complex team on offense or defense. They want to beat you with their people and their execution. And when they're not executing, they're not going to beat you.
Well, and they've beaten themselves with the 4 interceptions
That's right.
and a fumble.
You bet.
Little delay to Dozier trying to get outside, and a good tackle made by Lyndon King, able to get around the ankles just as Dozier saw daylight. From Minnesota, let's go to NFL Live. So the Broncos, who lost to the Minnesota Vikings on the Monday after the World Series here in Minneapolis. Broncos trying to rally in Buffalo. Delay to Dozier, and there's nothing there except a yard. So 3 plays, 1 yard each time, and Lyndon King making back-to-back tackles. Rod Martin was there.
So there's a good kick.
Chris Woods at the 33 with running room. They stretch him out, and he's forced to the sidelines and out of bounds at the 41-yard line. Good field position. Understand that the Chargers' Vince Abbott has just kicked a 39-yard field goal with 12 seconds left to give San Diego a 16-13 lead at Indianapolis. And talk about a surprise team buoyed by their 3-0 replacement squad. The Chargers are 12 seconds away from 7-1. Miami at Cincinnati, Houston at San Francisco. Those games to follow in our NBC doubleheader. So stay with us here in Minnesota as it's the Raiders trying to rally with 5 minutes left from an 11-point deficit. Allen and Jackson, the Heisman kids, behind Wilson. Deflected. That play by Doug Martin.
79 Martin, who's had a couple of sacks and had a big day on the defense, right there to bat that ball away.
That is now a final. The Chargers have beaten the Colts 16-13. Two teams amazingly in first place at this stage of the season. At least one would never have thought midpoint that that would be the case. The Chargers go home 7-1. Second and 10. Wilson going long for Lofton. Beautiful catch as he inbounds. No, he steps out of bounds at the 17-yard line. Oh, James Lofton, many times an All-Pro, he still has the goods.
Carl Lee trying desperately to keep up, unable to do so. That's Reggie Rutland covering one-on-one there. Oh, and it's Gugamus coming over from the inside. Let's look at it from the inside. It's Gugamus who needs to give the help here, and it's Rutland rather than Carl Lee. Carl Lee, we've given him enough grief for today. You're off the hook on this one. But you saw the foot go out of bounds right there.
Just outside the 16-yard line. Wilson trying to get 6 in a hurry. Has to throw it up for grabs. And there's a case where the receiver did a good job of knocking away the man who could have intercepted it, Wyman Henderson. Dokie Williams made the
trying to sneak back around the backside to make the catch.
Meanwhile, Dolman was pressuring Wilson. Bo Jackson. Down at the 13-yard line, John Harris with Rutland helping out. Boy, Jackson, when he gets the ball, you just feel yourself raising right out of your seat. He's got that kind of immediate attention. Other scores. Ooh, the Eagles now lead by 3 in the 4th. And Pittsburgh on a field goal regains the lead against the Chiefs. Well, been a tough year for them.
Critical third down play here. Although the Raiders have to go for it, they'll take a 3rd and a 4th down if they have to.
Draw play to. It was Bo Jackson tripped up, and he had a huge hole. He's down at the 10, where it'll be 4th and about 2.5.
Millard, number 75, Keith Millard, the man who got a hand on his ankles here. Millard coming right in on the pass rush. Watch him dive down. It just hooks the ankle there. Just gets enough of Bo, but Bo still got about 3 yards, and they're going for it on 4th and 4.
Yeah, this could be the game for the Raiders. Chris Dolman again.
Four quarterback sacks on the day. Dolman has had more than his share of them. Coming around Brian Holloway, who has not had a chance to play much football over the last weeks, getting a full day today, and you got to wonder if he's in playing condition, because Dolman has left him behind a lot of times today.
That's right. The two defensive ends, Martin and Dolman, have 2 sacks each. Wilson to Darren Nelson. They'll be tackling the ball now, the Raiders, with 3:24. Center of your picture, general manager is saying that he picked the colors black and silver from 2 teams he liked. The black from Army, he was once a coach there at West Point, and the silver, he liked the silver in the Detroit Lions uniforms, the Honolulu blue and silver, and he wears either black or gray or white every time you see him at a game. Or
I think he may be wearing a lot of black after this game, because I think this one puts the Raiders pretty well out of it.
2:45 showing on the clock. Wilson using all he can now to Dozier, and Dozier unable to gain much there to the 21-yard line. Here it's the Vikes by 11. Let's see how someone won as we go to Bob. All right, Robert, we'll stay with you for all the other scores. For those of you who will not be seeing the second half of our doubleheader, but for most of you, stay with us. We have 2 fine games to follow. Minnesota and the Raiders here. It'll be San Francisco hosting Houston for some of you, and others will see Miami and Cincinnati.
You see how long it's been since the Raiders have lost 5 in a row, and of course a couple of those games during the strike. One of the critical games during that strike was lost to San Diego, a game that they really should have won.
They had it won.
They had it won. Barr missed a field goal. Had a chance to win it outright. They did not get the field goal. They got a chance to drive down again. Evans had him driving again. Elvis Patterson intercepted a pass with seconds to go in that
18
game.
seconds.
Took it all the way down, put it into the end zone, and of course took one right out of the pocket of the Raiders. And perhaps, when you think about it, this season for the Raiders may turn on a single game. They may be one game out of it.
And
of course last week, a game too where there was a second opportunity for Franklin. An offsides penalty on Washington gave him a second chance, missed the first one. Would have been a tied game going to overtime. Comes back and kicks it for the win. So funny, not funny, sad if you're a Raider fan.
Alan Rice, who fumbled earlier, and he's drilled at the 23, so the Vikings unable to move the ball. Clock going at 2:26. We'll see if the Raiders use a second timeout here or let it go all the way to the 2-minute warning.
And if you have to look at a single play in this game, we could look back at what appeared to be a fumble that went for a Raider touchdown that was not allowed. That came back and ended up, I believe the Vikes drove down for points on that one too.
I'm surprised they didn't use a timeout. In essence, they're wasting the 2-minute timeout here. They let 25 seconds go, and there is the 2-minute warning. The Raiders will get the ball. They have 2 timeouts left, but they trail here in Minneapolis by 11.
For Bernsey is to decide which one his quarterback's going to be. Tommy Kramer came in, got a little taste of things, did not look that impressive, but Wade Wilson came in and took charge in the second half.
Chris Woods back, and Greg Coleman to punt. Oh, he just got it away. And it's a good kick. No fair catch by Woods. The tackle finally made by Carl Hilton. He got him twice. A 39-yard punt. Now back late in the third quarter, a very key play in this game involved Wade Wilson, who barely was down, ruled down. And within a split second, this could have been an easy touchdown for the Raiders. Was he or was he not down?
Is that knee on the ground? That ball definitely in the air. And our feeling here was that that ball was in the air before the knee hit. That was looked at by the review officials upstairs and not turned around. So their feeling was that it was on the ground, but I still think it was a touchdown, and that was a turn of emotion as well as points as the Vikes went down to get 3 points and a field goal.
Wilson throwing back, but unable to hit Mervin Fernandez. With 1:40 showing on the clock, the Raiders have 2 timeouts left.
One of the things that I am not envious of when I come to Minnesota is to know that the Vikings have to play so many games on this artificial turf. They're starting the first of 7 games in a row on artificial turf today. Boy, that's got to beat your body to pieces.
They do practice on natural turf.
Well, unless it gets cold, then they go inside on the artificial turf.
Flag down, and the pass is to Trey Junkin, who's tackled immediately by Joey Browner. With the flag, clock is stopped. And from Wilson's reaction, it's against the Raiders. Yep.
Holding, number 76, offense. 10-yard penalty, repeat, second down.
Brian Holloway, the former Patriot #1 pick.
He's had his problems today, but as I mentioned, he has not played a lot since his trade from New England. He's got to be a little out of shape for this kind of continuous action.
2nd and 20 from the 26-yard line, but it's the clock that Wilson and the Raiders are battling more than that yardage. Steps up, and now he'll run it. That's going to cost the Raiders a timeout, though, to the 35-yard line. It'll be 3rd and about 12, and they don't call time.
Take the quick snap. 1:17, 1:16, clock ticking.
Now he needs some yardage.
You got to have at least the first down here.
He's got intercepted and dropped right through the hands of Wyman Henderson. 4th and 12.
Oh, feet went right out from underneath him. Boy, that is so hard. Lofton has the ball in his hands. Watch his feet as he turns around. Ball is on its way, kind of steps forward, and well, it just looks like he's sliding down to the ground.
He tried to just cradle that.
Yeah, did not handle it well. That's not the way James Lofton became an All-Pro, I'll tell you that.
Now this is do or die for the Raiders with 1:04 left. 4th down and a dozen. And that's it. Another sack by Doug Martin, his 3rd of the game.
3rd sack of the day by Martin. 5th for the Vikes as they just write an end to that chapter, and Martin being a
Tom Flores, who started this year with 78 wins, 42 losses. He was looking to do what John Madden did with the Raiders and win 100 regular season games in 10 years. And it's rebuilding time. At least that was what you implied, Merlin, at the start. The team that loses today really has to think more realistically about 1987 as a stepping stone to 1988.
And Al Davis, who's had so many winning seasons back to back, was hoping to rebuild in a winning season. Now they're looking at having to make a different kind of decisions on the year.
Allen Rice, short yardage, time called by the Raiders. They have 1 timeout left. Give is to Gugamos, it appeared. No, that was the big fullback Rick Fenny. Fenny, the 240-pound rookie from Washington. Look at the report card. Hilger struggled, 3 interceptions, sacked a couple of times, 8 for 19. Wilson in the second half pitching 50%, 155 yards, 2 touchdowns, but intercepted 1, sacked 3 times. Bo Jackson, only his 2nd week of duty with the Raiders, and he was impressive, 75 yards. And as Merlin said, those numbers are going to get bigger and bigger. Marcus Allen with 50. On the other side, Minnesota Vikings, Kramer really ineffective in the first half, and Wilson only thrown the ball twice in the second half. That's because he's had the big lead to work on. 2 touchdowns by Wilson. Nelson 50 yards rushing. Jordan a touchdown. But the stars of the game, I would think, Merlin, are the
2
defenders.
defensive ends. I think the 2 defensive ends more than anything else because of the pressure they put on, and that pressure has ended up in 5 interceptions. You take the ball 5 times by interception, and I defy you to have enough offense to win a game.
There they are. Chris Dolman and Doug Martin, the 2 defensive ends. Between them 5 sacks. This game is the property of the National Football League. The Los Angeles Raiders and Minnesota Vikings, all rights reserved. 3rd down, 43 seconds left. Rice again to the 22-yard line. Howie Long with the tackle. And I believe the Raiders are, yes, they are out of timeouts.
Before we finish, Dick, I think we ought to mention, I hate knowing how hard these defensive linemen work for their sacks. Actually, the last sack was by Stafford May rather than by Martin, and I think we better give him the credit for it. Coming all the way around from the outside on a stunt, looked like Martin coming in there.
Our thanks to Joe Costanza and company, Ron and Larry Cullis, Ron Cadwell, Dave Monda, our choreographer and special effects, Jim Allen. The Minnesota Vikings back to 4-4. The Raiders with 5 consecutive losses. Got to go way back to '64 for such a dry spell for those players. And it was taking advantage of the mistakes for Minnesota that leads them to a 31-20 win. Back with final thoughts from the Metrodome and the Twin Cities after we pause for this word.